It is the Fantasy Golf Degenerates podcast, bringing you this week's Travelers Championship in Cromwell, Connecticut. We just wrapped up the U.S. Open. Shout out to Wyndham Clark on his second U.S. Open W. The dub won his dub again. Shout out to Santos Suente, who replied in the comments below as the first person to let us know that Wyndham Clark was going to win this week. Gets a free month in the Model Maniac Patreon. So go ahead and do that for this week's Travelers Championship. Let us know who is going to win. The first person to comment below gets a free month in the Model Maniac Discord and Patreon. All the stuff below over there. As always, the show is brought to you by DraftKings. Use code FGD when signing up for a first-time deposit over there. It'll help us. It'll help you. Go and do that. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, all of that jazz. While you are doing all of this stuff, we've got the man of the moment, everybody's favorite South African, Korean, American Korean, that guy, Kenny Kim on the couch. What's up, Kenny?
I mean, you're the South African.
I'm calling myself.
And we're playing this, Wednesday or Friday? Wednesday? South Korea versus South Africa in the World Cup. I'm looking forward to that. What a win by Wyndham. Pretty ballsy stuff out there, taking the lead early on, keeping that lead, even though, he went, didn't play the best final round, but his lead was big enough, 6 strokes going in, ended up winning by 1, I think, behind Sam Burns again. Sam just going out there and doing his thing in majors, pretty impressive by him. You had Fitzy up there. Scheffler tried to make her on. Tom Kim out of nowhere. Maybe we got to take a little bit more of a peek at Tom. Pretty big finish by Tom just because the President's Cup's coming up. Couple of more good finishes. Maybe he can get on that team. But let's talk about Wyndham. First off, I did have Wyndham Clark. He was a future. I had Burns too. He was a future. If you guys put that, I probably released that on the show about 3 or 4 weeks ago. So hopefully you guys tailed that. Wyndham Clark 80-1, Burns 45-1, both in 5 places. So a solid week, about a 40-unit week with those two hitting my 4th outright of the year, throwing a first-round leader. We're getting there, guys. We're getting there. We're my goal is to get 7 by the end of the fall swing. Still a few left. We'll see how it goes. But let's talk a little bit about Wyndham Clark and what he went through this past week. I've never seen an American golfer, get treated the way he did by the fans. I get it, right? I mean, he did some shitty stuff last year. He's been known to do some questionable things on the course. And I'm sure not many people bet him, which is another reason. So what he did to tune all that stuff out and still be able to focus on the golf was exceptionally impressive. Like I said, we've been talking about Wyndham pretty heavily for the last month or so on this show because we've seen what he is capable of doing when he is on his top form. And for the last month and a half, he's been in his top form. Really impressive to take all the negative things that have been throwing at him the last year and be able to, I don't know, maybe he used it. I don't know what his mode of thought was during the event, but it's, nothing seemed to bother him. Even on Sunday when he was failing a little bit on that front 9, no birdies, 3 bogeys, 3 over par at that point in time, going into 10. And to be able to hit that birdie on 10 was so big. Was a huge turning point in that background to get him a little bit more cushion up until, and then on 16, got a little bit lucky with that lie when he hit it into the rough, hit an amazing punch out, like 140-yard punch out with horrible fescue around him, really shitty lie. To get that on, the confidence he had there was telling. Because you could tell the caddy wanted him to sort of push it out right, maybe 100 yards, because he was bringing the bunkers into play, those fairway bunkers. And he's like, you know what? I got it. And he did. Hit it right down the middle. I think he got a little bit lucky on that 8-iron approach. I think he hit a little bit too much club, but somehow it landed on the back of the green and didn't bounce forward. It sort of spun back. The wind was a little bit in his face. I think that definitely helped. And then the putt, of course, was pretty good. Bogey 17, has to get a par on 18 to win, gets it done, hits his approach, which he didn't like, to about 35, 40 feet, hits his putt to about 6 inches, gets the W. So really, really solid performance by Wyndham Clark, two-time major champion. What did you think of Wyndham Clark and other golfers this week?
Yeah, it was a weird, because if you didn't have an outright on him, obviously it wasn't nearly as fun of a watch than what you enjoyed there, Kenny. He's just not a fun guy to root for if you don't have money on him for some reason. It's just the kind of vibe he gives off. And, there's a multitude of reasons for all of that. And then at the same time, we had everybody in New York behaving like a bunch of Jets and Giants fans again. We can rehash this. We spoke about this after the Players and all that stuff. New Yorkers don't know how to root for anybody. They just know how to root against people. And that's just what they do, on these golf courses in big moments. So I get it. It is what it is. But, Scotty couldn't make a putt to save his life. Essentially, if he gained as many strokes putting as Wyndham did, he would have tied him. Some really random people at the top of the leaderboard. Shout out to Keith Mitchell, led the field in strokes gained putting, had his first top, I think, 20. It might have been a T20 as his best major finish before that. Now he's got a top 5. Shout out to Matt Fitzpatrick, who blew my top 20 over there after leading, basically being in the final group going into Saturday. Doesn't finish top 20, so he had a meltdown. Xander Schauffele, who I wanted to shout out. I saw Fats underneath Xander there. Xander's now just rattled off another top 20 in another major, people. This is something that is unrivaled. It is unparalleled. It's absurd to have seen how difficult this course played and how many people that are very good at golf did not finish top 20 this week was insane to see. So Xander's now on a run of all runs for top 20s in majors. It's truly impressive what he's doing up right now. And then Sam Burns, his first, you've mentioned, he's been doing his thing in majors, Kenny. It's his first major top 5. He's been close a couple times, but just flamed out hard, and then T7, something like that. This is his first one. He's got that second now in a major. He can win other majors now, but we've already seen US Open. It's one of the hardest ones to win. Scotty Scheffler's going to have a hard time winning the US Open because it is just such a difficult major to win. The variance of the golf course, because it plays so hard. Getting back to Wyndham Clark, he was on the razor's edge. There's a different reality where there's like 10 things that go the 50% way the other way, and he shoots like 4 over par this week. There were multiple instances where TIO relief, you got a perfect chance to get up and down. If you have to hit that from a normal line, the fescue, you're probably not making, that up and down. Multiple instances where he just landed over the bunker, like you said, when you hacked out over that par 5 and just got it done, But that's the thing. When you have good luck breaking your way, taking advantage of it is the most important thing. And he does that very, very well. So shout out to him now. 3 top 5s and 2 of them being wins. It's truly impressive. So Wyndham Clark doing his thing, shaking that ass, man. He knows how to win golf tournaments.
I think one thing when we go talk about Scotty is I think you're correct. This is going to be the hardest major for him to win. And I think the big reason for that is I think it's the putting. Because he's not, he's at courses he's unfamiliar with. I mean, you think about it like the Masters he sees every year, right? The PGA is, somewhat similar to a difficult PGA Tour event, right? And then you got the Open Championship where the stip meter is very, very slow. So he can, bang putts by and not have 6 to 8 footers like he had at Shinnecock. I think it is going to be a toughest test, but next year's a Pebble, right? Next year's at Pebble, a course that he's familiar with, that he's played before. I think that might be his best shot next year. I think he's going to do it. I mean, he's an amazing player, but we thought the same thing with Rory in the Masters, right? So who knows? If he doesn't get it there, it could be a tough sledding for him to try and get it, because I do think this is going to be the hardest major for him to win. And I think it has to do with the greens and the speed and the unfamiliarity of the course he normally has. So that's something to take a peek about, think about when you think about Scotty. He sort of seemed to have lost that killer instinct as well. Because, winning is hard. He made it look easy for a few years Now he's doing everything except coming through on Sunday a little bit. And it's been the putter. It's been a little bit of a problem. Hasn't been making the clutch putts. We'll see what happens this week. I got to take on Scotty, so we'll see what happens. Another thing I wanted to talk about. You want to talk about Scotty at all before I move on?
It's just interesting, Kenny, because it's like he's had all of these last starts of his, he's had one guy just way clear of him. Mm-hmm. Cameron Young, Wyndham Clark, like he went into the final round with like a 6 or 5 shot, deficit. So he's absolutely doing his best to try and do this stuff. So sometimes when you're trying to chase like that, it's difficult, especially at courses like this. You can't quite get it going. So it's going to be a fascinating week. Every time he tees it up, because I dived into all the stats of this stuff, and of the guys that have 4+ majors, the total percentage of all the majors that they've won is like 17 or 20% only for the US Open. They win the Open Championship and the Masters like way more. The big boys that win up a lot of majors. Then there are some US Open specialists like Wyndham Clark, and I think Ben Hogan, was it one of them? Like there's a bunch of guys that won a couple US Opens in their day. But you just need a certain type of game.
Curtis Strange, Brooks, there's a bunch of guys out there who have taken a pair of these.
Yeah, so it's a really unique event, and it was fantastic. They did well with the course, all of that stuff. I thought that went great. So yeah. Anybody else I want to chat about?
One guy I want to talk about is Rory. Okay. And it's not so much of his play. He didn't play. I mean, he was up and down. Like, you saw him first page of the leaderboard, and then the back 9, he'd be gone. It was just a very up and down thing, and it's fine. I still think he's going to be fine. I still think he's going to win 10 majors. It's going to happen. I think he's another Masters, maybe next month at the Open Championship. We'll see. But his comments before the event, I thought were a little wild. If you didn't hear, Roy was talking about the 2-track system that Brian Rolapp is proposing for the for next year, for the years coming, to sort of change how the PGA Tour looks and how it plays. And basically, the track 1's going to be 1 through 120, sort of like a signature event. The other ones are going to be sort of, lower level events where it's 121 and to 240 ranking gets in those. And basically and Roll-Up's trying his best to sell this, especially the sponsors. And I've already come up with my solution is, let the live guys back and play the tier 2 events. And that should help with the sponsors. But what Rory said was he went and said he doesn't think it's going to work. He thinks that, these tier 2 events are glorified Corn Ferry event. Say that as the face of golf. He's the face, not Scotty. Rory is the face of golf. To say that while Rolapp is working his butt off to try and get this thing to work was pretty shocking. 2 things that I can see. Either he has beef with Rolapp, which, it's possible. I haven't heard anything. But, I mean, to say something like that at the time he said it, it's either beef with Rolapp or he really just doesn't give a fuck anymore and just says whatever is on his mind, how he wants to say it, whenever he wants to say it, because he realizes he's the alpha dog and he can get away with whatever he wants. Basically, Tiger did the same. You know what I'm saying? It comes with the territory as being the face of golf. Now, he definitely didn't make it easier. I was sort of shocked about those comments. And he basically made it very, very difficult for Rolapp to try and push this through and the sponsors to get on. And there's a big press conference tomorrow. We're recording this Monday night. There's a press conference tomorrow by Rolapp where he's going to roll out some of his ideas for these big changes. And I'm very curious to see if there's any about face, any changes of what he's thinking of doing, because, man, Rory sort of fucked him over with that. And Rory has every right to say what he wants to say, especially because of the caliber player he is and where he is on golf. But that was definitely shocking to me.
Yeah, I don't know. It also, at the same time, Kenny, what does it really matter? Like who's going to when alt events are on? Sometimes I don't even run a model for them. Most of the time I don't really run a model for them. It's going to be so second thought, second nature, like not second nature, like such an afterthought if you are on the tier 2 side of things. Like that's more so just a feeder. It's a feeder tour KFT situation where you kind of holding these guys in a pattern to get them, groom them up for when they want to show up and play the big boy events. So I don't know. It's at the end of the day, there's nothing we can do about it. I think there's enough good golf to be played. They'll figure it out. The top end of it will be taken care of one way or another. I think we're still going to see all the big guys playing all their tournaments together. If Harry Higgs is dueling it out with somebody, somebody random on a weekend, cool. Like let them do it and get a chance to play their way onto the PGA track 1. But I'm not really going to be watching it that much. I want to watch the big guys. I want to spend all my attention on there. So I don't know.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, we're going to have to watch because I think half of those events are going to be standalone. So we're going to be doing shows on those events.
Right. Which is like a colonial, of any given week or whatever. But when there's a bunch of them that are on the same week, is that what I understand correct as well? Like there's overlapping weeks where, they're trying to get in enough reps for both tracks. Those weeks are going to be so lame, like it's not going to be the way they think it is. Maybe in that market, yes, like if you're going to Chicago as an alt event, sure. Like, but even the smaller, dude, like the John Deere Classic, going there, I'm thrilled. People will be turning out. They got Carrie Underwood. My wife's going. We're watching the concert on Saturday. So, like, this is the stuff that they do. So we'll see. I don't know. I don't really have much more to say on the track stuff.
I'm doing the King of the Draft thing next week for the JDC. So I'm going to need your input on that. We'll talk about that next week. I know you advanced to the next round. Solid work. If you guys are unfamiliar, Spencer, how do you pronounce his last name? Aguiar is doing a tournament with a bunch of DFS guys, and it's sort of like I don't know exactly how it's working. All I know is I'm showing up and I have to draft. So that's the way it goes.
It's 4 of you. You draft. Once that person's been selected, they're off the table. It's a snake. You got to draft your roster to 50K.
I understand that part. I just don't understand like how it goes to the next round. But I don't care. I just want to make it to the next round.
Top two advance to the 16s. So.
Before we move on, one more thing. I do want to talk about the fans. Here's the thing with Wyndham Clark and the fans. If you're at home and you're watching and you don't like Wyndham Clark, root against him. Yeah, more power to you. That's fine. You know what I'm saying? If you don't like a golfer, that's actually a good thing. To have that type of emotion for a player, for the game, that's great. I got no problem with that. Now, the idiots on site who go off and spew off their mouth and yell. A lot of it, there's going to be guys like that in every event. You had alcohol, you had gambling, and you had the fact that, some people are just delusion, thinking that they can make a difference. And I can't really talk too much shit about that because I've done that before. Right. When I was younger, not in golf, but I used to go to NBA games. I used to go to Wizards games all the time. Right. And when they really, really sucked. And I would get, you can get tickets right close to the court for like $100, under $100. And so what I used to do, I remember was one game. It was either Jamal Crawford or Jordan Crawford, one of the shittier Crawfords, right? He was playing for the Wizards. It was before John Wall. We were at this game, and he was the only person that could score. And so the whole game, I was just yelling. I was yelling in his ear. He's inbounding the ball right in front of him, like, Jordan, keep shooting. And for some reason, the guy listened to me, put up like 32 shots that game, made like 8 or some shit, got cut the next day. Another thing I used to do is I used to Google the referees' names, right? And just like Wikipedia the referee and talk about like their old careers and shit. You know what I'm saying? So I've done shit like that. You're young and you're dumb and you're drunk and whatever. You do stupid shit. I get it. I understand it. That's no problem. But the thing is, I don't think that works in golf, especially to certain type of players. Like, if you really want to fuck a golfer up, silence. Like, that was the craziest thing about Wyndham Clark. Like, I know there wasn't that many people on Saturday, but that shot on 16 was one of the greatest shots, top 25 shot in U.S. Open history by a winner, probably, right? If he doesn't make that shot, he doesn't win. right on Saturday.
Sure. Yeah.
It's a 275-yard 3-wood with about 40 yards of cut to about 3 feet. And I know there weren't that many people there, but it was dead silence. Silence. And that is, I think, that gets in a golfer's head, I think, more than what these guys that were doing during the round. So if you really want to fuck with somebody on the course, right, who's not likable, I don't know if we'll ever see a situation like this again, to an American at least, in the U.S. Open. But, like, just don't cheer. Like, silence is a bigger distraction, I think, outside of someone yelling in your backswing. But like it's just, you're not used to that. And I think that is a way to really get in golfers' heads. So if you really want to make a difference out there, of course, talk to the people around you. If you're all rooting against somebody, be like, just don't cheer.
Yeah.
Just don't cheer. Just don't clap. That would get in the golfer's head, in my opinion, I think.
It was insane, Kenny. Like, his putt to win the US Open compared to Scotty Scheffler making a 6-footer to finish T4, like, the crowd went like normal. And then when he tapped in his putt to win the US Open for a second time, it was like, okay, off we go. What time's the train? It's insane. It is insane what all happened there. So,
I mean, the thing is, like, the fans almost made people sympathize with Wyndham Clark. And I don't want that. I want him to be the bad guy. I like him because he is the bad guy. We need more bad guys out there. And the crowd actually made him sort of a sympathetic figure. And I didn't like that. I was like, and he was saying the right shit right now. You know what I'm saying? It took about a year, but he said everything correctly. He said he's like, he understands the way fans feel. Right? He did everything right. And I was like, man, he should have just went full heel, full Darth Vader, and just started fucking with everyone. That would have been great. But, good for Wyndham. When he's hot, he's hot. You see him picking up steam. Now, then you jump on. We'll see if he can get the consistency. That's what he needs to get to the upper echelon, right? Of the guys out there. And we'll see if it comes. Maybe it can. But that's all I got.
He is a very, very interesting character because his mentals define who he is. He's obviously got the physical ability to do what he needs to do. He seems to be able to just rip that massive cut on demand every single time he needs to. He's now got a girlfriend and he's got this psychologist, like two very strong female figures in his life. If one of them disappear, his game.
You got to remember, and that's a big thing. He lost his mom very young to breast cancer. And he almost quit the game after that. So I think that's an important thing, having women in your life that can help him. And in his formative years, he did not have that.
Yeah. So but again, a lot of these guys, they grow up to get to become an elite athlete. What percentage of people would you say are actually like nice guys that are like elite athletes? Because part of being an elite athlete is being a dick, is being a savage, is being like an ultra competitor. And I think he is. He's ultra competitive. And I think sometimes that can come out like he's bad at framing his competitiveness, whereas like Scotty comes off a whiny bitch, Rory just gives up kind of thing. Wyndham loses his shit. Like that's how he kind of deals with his lack of control, and it's kind of interesting to see. So we'll see what happens with Wyndham. He's obviously fantastic for golf, but again, Kenny, like it just seems like no matter what happens in his life, he just never seems to fit in. He was on the Olympic team and was there because of the US Open win like over a year before that, and wasn't playing great golf. So he was on the team rightfully so because he qualified, but wasn't really deserving to be there. Then he gets onto the Ryder Cup team. He just sucks it up until like the end of the singles kind of thing. He just doesn't seem like he ever fits in. He was getting into it with the guys that he wasn't even part of the match with at the President's Cup, going night to Tom Kim and Siwoo Kim. Like he's not even part of that match, and he's like celebrating nights and shit. Like it's weird, but he's part of our life now. So we've just got to deal with him and let him do his thing, because he's turned it around. Does he continue? Because it seems hard for him to be like this, So that's that. We will see how it goes. This week we've got the Travelers Championship, Kenny Kim, Cromwell, Connecticut. Tell us what is happening at this wonderful golf course.
All right, the PGA Tour moves to Cromwell, like you said, for the Travelers Championship of TPC River Highlands. I wouldn't worry too much about potential weariness after playing the U.S. Open. There's been recent winners who have performed well at the U.S. Open and have played well again at the Travelers. I also wouldn't worry about golfers that missed the cut last week, because I think 5 of the last 13 winners here have missed the cut in the event prior. Recently, since the event moved to after the U.S. Open, 3 winners finished inside the top 15 at the U.S. Open prior to the Travelers win. Keegan, of course, won twice. Before his first win, he missed the cut. And then, at the U.S. Open the week prior to his win. And then his second win, he finished 33rd the week prior at the U.S. Open. Now, normally this course doesn't just favor long hitters. It's seen by like the crazy playoffs we've had here, like Bubba Watson, Corey Pavin, and Scott Verplank in a playoff in 2010. A bomber, the shortest of short guys and an average guy, right? Ken Duke 1 year, like a decade ago. Russell Knox 1 year. Chaz 1 year. Furyk shot 58, right? Right? You don't really need the length. Now, with the influx of elite golfers in the field, most of which are long off the tee, we could see a lot more bombers on top of the leaderboard than usual. There has actually been an uptick in driver usage, especially among the top 5 finishers the last 5 years. This doesn't mean short hitters can't contend, as seen by the list of past winners I just spewed out a few minutes ago. When looking at driver stats this week, I want golfers that have strong strokes gained off the tee stats, preferably with a bit more focus on the accuracy side. Now, solid off the tee play and solid around the green play will be needed, but most agree that this course is still a second shot course, right? It's still a second shot course. An iron game is what's going to decide the winner more than likely. I'd focus on, if you're a longer hitter, if you're rostering longer hitters, I'd focus more on golfers that are good from like 125, 150. If you're looking at, average to short hitters, I'd look at 150 to 175. I'd also look strongly at green and regulation stats for both type of players. Golfers with strong green and regulation stats coming into the event have had success here in the past. One other thing about this event is that most of the time the morning wave has an advantage due to the softer conditions and smoother greens. The heat can bake out the greens. It's supposed to be hot this week. And the POA in the greens can make for a bumpy road in the afternoon. Something to think about. First round leader, showdown, right? A couple of trends. The course has undergone a few changes recently. They narrowed a couple of fairways, added mounds to landing areas off the fairway, decreased the size of a couple of greens. I don't expect this to add too much difficulty to the course. We saw minus 18 wind last year, but that was like 20, 25 mile per hour wind gusts like 3 of the 4 days. All right. Now, 9 of the last 12 winners of the Travelers have posted at least a top 30 in their previous year at TPC River Highlands prior to winning. That was the trend I was talking about. Let's get to the meat of the course. TPC River Highlands is 6,850-yard par 70 Pete Dye redesigned course with 2 par 5s and 4 par 3s. The par 5-6 is the longest of the par 5s, but will still be reachable by the big hitters. The par 5-13 is much shorter, and almost all golfers will be able to reach in 2. The par 4-15 is a very short par 4, under 300 yards sometimes, and we will see some golfers reach the green on their tee shot here. All 3 of these holes have close to a 40% birdie percentage. If golfers par any of these holes, they're going to be losing strokes to the field. As being a par 70 course, par 4 play, going to be important with the previous winners all doing well in the 48 par 4s for the week. Golfers will see average-sized fairways off the tee that get substantially more narrow after the 300-yard mark. Bunkers and trees will be in play if they miss the short grass. These fairways are some of the easiest to hit on tour, as nearly 70% of all tee shots find the fairway. But as we saw, a decade plus ago, with Bubba winning, he only had 50% of the fairway. So you can get away with missing the short grass, especially if you have length off the tee and aren't missing wildly. If golfers do miss the fairway, the first cut of rough, not too bad and playable. But the further the golfer misses the fairway by, the thicker the rough and thicker and taller the rough is going to get. Unlike other events with tall, thick rough, the greens at TPC River Highlands are softer and more receptive. So it won't be a total disaster if golfers miss the fairway. And since the course is so short, they should be hitting their approaches with a short iron. The greens are slightly below average in size, except for the long par 3 holes. Multi-tiered with a bit of slope, and a lot of them are elevated and crowned along the edges. There's not too many undulations on the green, but they usually put the pin in a place where there is some slope, so they don't have golfers shooting minus 30 for the week if the conditions are soft and there's light wind, which is what we expect this week. They also put pin locations in very close proximity to the edge of the greens, so golfers can have tricky chip shots if they short side themselves. Scrambling from the rough is actually pretty difficult here at TPC River Highlands. Annually ranks around top 10 hardest courses on tour when it comes to chipping from the rough. Now, even though the greens are small, nearly 67% of approaches still find the greens at TPC River Highlands, which is above tour average. So even with the previous stat of around the green play, I wouldn't put a ton of emphasis on short game. If golfers miss the green, they're going to have to deal with collection areas, rough, thick rough, water, and numerous bunkers. The greens use a POA bentgrass blend, somewhat like we saw last week, and are average in speed, average to sometimes they be a little quicker, with an 11 to 12 around the stimp. Water is in play around a third of the holes, including a huge pond surrounding 15, 16, and 17. Byron, what are you looking for in golfers this week?
Kenny, I'm looking for a bunch of guys that hit fairways that are very good from the 100 to 200 yard range. If you pull up my screen here, Mike, I was showing you guys as we were cruising through the micro model here as Kenny was giving a wonderful course breakdown. Russell Henley is going to hit 12 shots from 100 to 200 in that proximity bucket. He's going to have 5 from 100 to 150, 7 from 150 to 200. If you go to Xander Schauffele, who hits it significantly further than Russell, there are only 72 people in this field. Russell's 69th in driving distance. Xander is 6th. So Xander is going to have 8 shots from 100 to 150 and 4 from 150 to 200. So he's going to have still 12 shots as well. But, this basically 2/3 of your shots are coming from inside 200 to 100 yards. So you're looking for guys that really thrive in that range. And that's where we'll be going over here. The micro model kind of does all of that on its own. We'll get there along the way. First off, we're going to start with easy scoring conditions. And by the way, shout out to Kenny, hanging tough. Again, we are doing the show late. It's coming out to you guys a little late. Summertime is difficult with softball. I'm trying to sell the house. Life comes at you fast. So I appreciate all of you guys with your patience and your caffeine intake as needed. So we're looking at easy scoring conditions. If I take a look at this golf course over the past, I put a little thing over here together in the Micro Model Maniac, the Model Maniac Discord. 39% of rounds at this golf course have been medium scoring average. 30% of them have been easy scoring averages. And since about 2023, we've seen a lot of those rounds be easy. We've seen the medium stuff kind of really lap up there. 2022, 2021, since we've gone to signature field events, 2024, 2025, these guys have been going banana land in the easy side of things. So that's what we're looking for this week. Easy scoring conditions when scoring averages are 1.5 under par or lower. That definitely was not the case this week at the US Open. Tommy Fleetwood, Scotty Scheffler, Nico Echeverria, Xander Schauffele, Matt Fitzpatrick, Jake Knapp, injured, returning from a rusty situation. Adam Scott, Shane Lowry, Minwoo, Colin Morikawa, Kurt Kitayama are your top 10 guys. I'm only going to give you 10. That's the boxes we're checking this week. There are only 72 guys playing this week. So we know we're taking the top 1/7 of the field to check a box. Next up, we're going micro model ranking. How does this course fit this golfer's specific skill set? Shaka Wyndham Clark, number 2 in the model. Struggles to hit fairways typically, but that doesn't matter because he's one of the better iron players in the field. Great short game. Your top model ranking guys for the micro model: Scotty, Wyndham, Sam Burns, Ludwig, Rose, Colin Morikawa, Tommy Fleetwood, Cameron Young, Harris English, and Siwoo Kim. Siwoo Kim taking quite a ding given how bad his putting has been lately, particularly on bent, but he is a fantastic iron player. Also very, very handy hitting it in the fairways. Then we want to take a look at guys who are playing good golf over the last little while, the last 2 months. Yeah, they are. These are your strokes gained over the last 2 months. We've got Scotty Scheffler and Wyndham Clark gaining 2.7, 2.73. Tommy Fleetwood, Justin Thomas, Sam Burns, Aaron Rai, Ludwig Oberg, Eric Cole, Cameron Young, Siwoo Kim, rounding out your top 10 of strokes gainers over the last 2 months, guys that are playing some good golf at the moment. Then we're going to take a quick peek at who's been doing well on bent grass greens. You got to make your putts at this golf course. So we're taking a quick peek at the micro model. This includes just general putting and bent grass putting surfaces. Your best putting performers are Harris English, Sam Burns, Alex Noren, McNeely, Denny McCarthy, Eric Cole, Bobby Mack, Jake Knapp, Scotty Scheffler, and Wyndham Clark sitting down there in the 10 hole. Then we're going to move over to our guys that finish at the top of the leaderboard more often than you think, or more often than we want to think. So Scotty Scheffler, this is going to be using a total of win, top 5, top 10, and top 20 rates to get us a total percentage over here. Scheffler, Fleetwood, Young, Fitzpatrick, Matthew, Ludwig Oberg, Henley, Schauffele, Jake Knapp, Siwoo Kim, and Chris Gotterup rounding out the 10th spot for just finishing inside the top 5, top 10, top 20 as much as you can possibly have. Sometimes these guys they fall through the cracks when it comes to strokes gained. They just consistent or they're inconsistent with the strokes gain. So the strokes gain doesn't give you what you're looking for, but they still land up finishing inside the top 10 more often than you realize. Course history at this golf course is quite predominant. You want to make sure that you have good course history for most of your guys that you are rostering this week. You can also get away from a couple of guys that are playing quite poorly coming into the week, but your number 1 course history guys this week: Brian Harmon has not finished worse than 9th in his last 5 starts. Scotty Scheffler, JT, Patrick Cantley, Keegan Bradley, Xander Schauffele, Corey Connors, Fleetwood, Henley, and Victor Hovland rounding out your 10th spot for some course history over there. And then your top 10 in the Model Maniac model rankings this week, your top 10 overall graded golfers: Scotty, Fleetwood, Clark, Oberg, Schauffele, Young, Burns, Henley, Fitzpatrick, and Patrick Cantley. By the way, I took Patrick Cantley and I watered his ass down a little bit. I actually had him a couple spots ahead, but our Maniac overrode him from 4 all the way down to 10. I cannot do that with Patrick Cantley. I cannot lead you guys astray with the model rankings over there. So Maniac override, Kenny. We can dive into the Patrick Cantley side of things there, but a couple box checkers. Scotty Scheffler checks all 7. Tommy Fleetwood checks 6. Wyndham, Ludwig, Xander, Cameron Young, and Sam Burns all check 5 of the 7 this week for the Travelers. We'll see what happens. It's a fun week right after a tumultuous period of time for these golfers doing their thing. Whew. Boxes are checked. Let's have a week. Let's check some bets. But before we do that, let's hear a quick word from our partners. Football season is right around the corner, and DraftKings is bringing you their biggest best ball contest ever. We're talking a massive $20 million in total prizes, making this the largest best ball tournament in DraftKings history. And right now, our partners at DraftKings are giving new DraftKings customers a can't-miss offer. Get 3 tickets to play best ball for free with your first deposit. That's right. Deposit once and score 3 shots at big cash prizes only on DraftKings. It's easy. Just draft your team once. No weekly management required, and let your top scorers automatically start each week. All season long, every breakout star, every clutch play, and every touchdown counts towards your shot to win big. Download the DraftKings Daily Fantasy app and make your first deposit of $5 or more, and you'll score 3 tickets for your shot at massive cash prizes. That's 3 shots in DraftKings' biggest best ball contest ever without ever setting your lineup again. Only on DraftKings, the crown is yours in partnership with DraftKings. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. New York, call 8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777. 888-848-9797 or visit ccpg.org. 18 plus in most states. Restrictions apply. Non-withdrawable ticket rewards are site credits for NFL best ball contests only and expire 14 days after being issued. Terms, www.draftkings.com/promotions in 6/4/26 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. Sponsored by DraftKings. Alrighty, we are back. Kenny Kim, hit us up with this week's DraftKings bets for the week, baby.
All right, so I got 6 bets for this week. The first one's going to be Matthew Fitzpatrick, 25-1 with 3 places. Fitz has probably been the best golfer on tour since the Players. 3 wins, a couple of runner-ups since then. It's not surprising that his iron game has been elite during that time. In his 9 events since the Players, he has gained a minimum 2 strokes on the field with his irons in every event except Memorial, and he gained like 1.7 that week. He's played 2 easy to easiest courses since the Players, which are the Heritage and Canada, and he finished first and second, respectively, at those events. He's actually always been good, very easy to career, as he has gained 1.9 strokes on the field per round on very easy courses and 1.6 strokes on the field in easy courses. He's also improved his finish at this course each year he has played. Next, it's going to be Colin Morikawa, 22-1. And now it's Fitzpatrick, 25-1 with 3 places. He's going to be the only guy I got with 3 places each way this week. Next, it's going to be Colin Morikawa, 22-1 with 8 places. Kawa's had a sort of rejuvenated season, and his best finishes have come on easier, shorter tracks this season. Win at Pebble, 4th at Heritage. On very easy scoring courses, he is averaging almost 10 strokes gained on the field per event. 10 strokes per event in his career on easy to very easy courses. Right? That is an astounding number. This is all from the rabbit hole on betsperts.com. He hasn't lost strokes with his irons since once this year. Apollo and Bent are his best putting surfaces. Am I wrong about his easy course stuff there, Byron? You looked at me sort of funny. I cannot hear you. I think Mike might have you muted.
I'm good to go, my friend. I'm got some other stuff going on in the background.
Gotcha. All right. So next we got Ben Griffin. Back on Ben Griffin, 35-1 with 8 places. Griffin has gained strokes with his irons in 3 straight events for the first time since late last season. Yes, one of them was a miscut at Memorial, but his putter was more to blame than anything else that week. The man seems to love very easy scoring conditions, as he's averaged 1.75 strokes gained total per round on the field throughout his career in very easy scoring conditions. He looks like he enjoys short courses with a solid play Colonial, and he has improved every year he has played this course, culminating in a top 15 last year. I know he has had a rough start to this year, and I sort of called that at the beginning of the season. But it looks like he is out of his funk with 4 top 17s in his last 6 events, including a 3rd at Colonial and a 3rd at Doral. Next up, Kurt Kitayama, 40-1 with 8 places. I'm going to talk a little bit more about him later in the show. Next, Christopher Wrighton, 60-1 with 8 places. Wrighton comes in 5th in my model for the last 24 rounds. He's proved himself on long, difficult tracks recently with his win at the Truist and a top 20 at Memorial. But in his short PGA career, he's been very, very good at very easy scoring conditions, gaining over 2 strokes per round on the field in very easy scoring condition rounds. He hits a ton of greens as he's 4th in green and regulation the last 24 rounds in this field. Best putting surfaces, POA and Bent. This is what the blend we're seeing this week. Finally, it's going to be a long shot. Trying to get the placement in on this one. It's going to be Jackson Super, 180-1 with 8 places, taking a flyer at a high number. Been playing very well. I'm just going to try and ride the Mo with him. He can have spike iron weeks, and that's what you need. A spike iron week here. He's had a couple of those here recently in the past month. The number is such a number at a high odds. So my card for this week, it's going to be Matthew Fitzpatrick, 25-1 with 3 places. Colin Morikawa, 22-1 with 8 places. Ben Griffin, 35-1 with 8 places. Kurt Kitayama, 40-1 with 8 places. Christopher Wrighton, 60-1 with 8 places. Jackson Super, 180-1 with 8 places. Byron, who you betting on this week?
All righty, Kenny, thank you for those. Let's dive into what I've got this week. It's a smallish card to begin. I'm going to be adding that on my Back Nine Bet shows, Tuesdays, 3 Eastern on Mayo Media. But for the first way of the week, we're going with Russell Henley at 30-41. It makes 0 sense to me in this department. He is really, really impressive when it comes to this golf course. He just finished second year last year. If we take a look at the model rankings, he's going to be popping up there quite nicely. He doesn't check as many boxes as you would like, but when it comes to some conditions, he's barely missed out on a couple course history things. I think he's really, really handy when it comes to just finding fairways. Unfortunately, that didn't take place last week for him. He shot an 80 and missed like a million fairways. I think he hit 2 of 13 greens on Saturday, did Russell Henley. So we're getting a bit of a relief in price here, given the fact that he's not necessarily playing the greatest golf in the world. But if you think about what he's got up to, we got a 3rd at the Masters and a 1st at the Charles Schwab. So this guy's absolutely capable of winning golf tournaments. He also won the week or the tournament after missing the cut at the PGA Championship. The 65 is basically an MC. He was like MC hammered all the way at the back of the pack, not figuring his stuff out. So love Russell Henley this week, 30-41. Let's go. Let's party. Let's get it. Then there's a guy called Aaron Rai, who is delightfully appealing. At this morning, there was 60-41s. We dropped that in the Model Maniac Discord on DraftKings over there. This man has made 10 consecutive cuts in majors now. 11th the week after the next major after winning the PGA Championship. So playing some good golf, 5th at the One Flight, 11th at last week's US Open, and a 20th at the Memorial, 19th place over there. So what I really like the most about Aaron Rai is this approach play. If you take a look at what Aaron Rai does well, he dials it the hell in from 100 to 200. He's not a very good long iron player. When you take a look at this year's stats, here's Aaron Rai. You can see his wedges over here, 100. Just ignore the top of the stuff. Yeah, it's been a day. The 100 to 150 stuff, he's 7th in strokes gained from that range. He's 6th from 150 to 200. There are 72 people in this field. He is 37th in strokes gained from 200 plus. Remember, we were using the micro model to identify how many shots we're going to see. 12 of them are coming from 100 to 200. That's what Aaron Rai does so damn well on a course like this. So we're going to get mid and wedge intensive venue. These are the guys that like thrive, because you can lose a lot of strokes with your long irons. They're not going to be testing that as much this week. Also, like Aaron Rai on bent grass greens does his thing. Then this week, we are going to be going with Lindeque's ladder of the week. He's part of our outright card. We're going to be betting him top 20, top 10, and top 5. The way you can locate this man in the model is if you just focus in on course history. 2.2 strokes gained per round. That's better than what Scotty Scheffler's done here in his career. We were looking last night on Back Nine Bets. I do like a little mini preview recap show as well. And what Brian Harmon is doing at Cromwell, Connecticut at TPC River Highlands, he's gaining as many strokes at this golf course as Rory McIlroy does like over his career. Rory's like in that 2.2, 2.5 range as a career strokes gained average. This is what Brian Harmon is doing at this golf course. It's an absurd situation. So if you want to go to Brian Harmon, I dropped in the Discord this morning. I have no idea where these prices have moved to. He's 92-1 for outright. He's 12-1 for a top 5, 5-1 for a top 10, and 2-1 for a top 20. You can drop half a unit on the top 20, 0.2 units on the top 10, 0.2 units on the top 5, and 0.1 unit on the outright over there for a full unit worth of investment on Brian Harmon for Lindeque's ladder of the week. This course makes complete sense for him. I'm not worried about the form coming in. Like all of these venues are a little lengthy. We've seen guys with hyper accuracy. This is what he does. It's no shocker that he plays well. Yeah, he putts well on bent grass greens. Pretty solid when it comes to those mid-range irons compared to the rest of his situation. So those are my three guys: Russell Henley, Aaron Rai, and Brian Harman. Probably three of the most passive options you can find on the leaderboard. This is the Travelers. We are traveling slowly. We're traveling in the middle of the fairway. We're traveling from 100 to 200 yards on the proximity buckets there. And we've got some good course history for at least two of those guys. I don't know what Aaron Rai has quite got up to at this golf course in the past. 17th year last year, not too shabby. So doing some stuff. I'll be doing the rest of my bets tomorrow on 3 Eastern on Mayo Media on Back 9 Bets. I'm doing our thing over there. So apologies on not having a full card. It's been a day. Moving on to DFS, Blood, Sweat, and Tears for this week's Travelers Championship, Kenny Kim. We've got Scotty Scheffler, smaller field, 13-8. Let's see what you've got going on here in the 10K range. What are we doing with Scotty Scheffler after a fourth place finish at the US Open last week?
I'm playing Scotty this week.
Yeah.
At least one of my 5 lineups, at least. I'm playing Scotty this week. Here's the thing, like with my model and everything, he just seems to be so far and away above basically everyone, like 8,300 and above. Like there's only like 3 or 4 or maybe 5 golfers that I really, really like above $8,400, right? And so if it's that, because I only like a limited amount of golfers up top, it's pretty easy for me to go ahead and at least go with Scotty for at least one lineup. So I am going to play Scotty definitely in at least one lineup, GPP lineup, maybe 2. Definitely a winner here. I'm not worried about him fading on Friday last week. He's going to be in contention. Can he do it on Sunday? He's had a little bit of trouble with that here recently, but I don't think it's something to overly worry about unless we've talked about this earlier. Maybe if he goes winless the rest of the year, then you start, questioning maybe a little bit. But right now, it's not like fire alarms aren't off yet, right? Maybe someone has their hand on the lever, but they haven't pulled it yet, basically. So I'm going to go ahead and rock Scotty this week. I'm going to play him. I'm going to fade Fleetwood. I'm going to fade Xander. But Fitzpatrick is my first cash game cornerstone at 10,000 even. Talked about him, of course, in the betting segment. The worst feature he has in this little run that he's been doing has been off the tee, and that's going to be limited a little bit with Leston Driver off the tee here. He'll be able to hit the fairways he needs to hit, but his iron game has been so impressive. His game overall has been very, very impressive. He's jumped to the elite status of golfers. I like Fitzpatrick as my first cash game cornerstone.
Yeah, it was kind of absurd to see what Fitz was doing because, I had that top 20 bet on him last week and was watching him just like drive his way out of the top 20. It was really weird to see Fitzpatrick, for such a good driver of the golf ball, to struggle as much as he did off the tee last week. So hopefully a bounce back on some easy scoring conditions. Let's go. I have the model filtered by ranking here because I also have the power rating, not just the rank number. And Scotty Scheffler's power rating is 2.00. Tommy Fleetwood is 1.36. So let's call it 0.65 in power rating difference. You mentioned, Kenny, he's so much further above everybody else. If we want to find what's this, you got a minus 1.65 to get to 0.7. The range that we find ourselves in, the difference between Scotty Scheffler's power rating and Tommy Fleetwood, who's second in the model, is the same difference as Tommy Fleetwood to Alex Fitzpatrick, Akshay Bhatia, Adam Scott, Hideki, Christopher Wright, and JT Poston kind of guys. That is the gap between Scotty Scheffler and the next best option in the field. And we're getting him at 13.8. We've seen him at 14.9 with a 5K range. I fancy the fact that there's a no-cut situation going on this week, and he checks all 7 boxes, which should be no surprise for Scotty Scheffler. So I fancy him a lot. Tommy Fleetwood obviously checks the boxes too, given the fact that he basically won this thing last year, except for Keegan Bradley took it from him. So we'll see what happens there. I don't mind Fitzy either with you, Kenny, but I do like Scotty Scheffler quite a lot in the top of the board here. And then there's a good chance I'll be mixing in some 9K options as we get to those there. But I think I like Fleetwood a bit more than you do, given the fact that he's pretty solid on these easy conditions.
The problem I have with Fleetwood and the problem I have with Xander is their approach games have been really, they haven't really been that great. You look at Tommy recently. I think he's 48th in approach, 46th in approach in this field out of 72 golfers in the last 24 rounds. I think when it comes to green and regulation, he's 42nd in the field.
Yeah.
I don't like the way his irons look. I'm not going to play him. Xander really, his iron game has been taking a little bit of a dive as well. I'm not going to play either one of those guys. But if we do move to the 9K range, my second cash game cornerstone is going to be Colin Morikawa. Again, one of my bets this week. I think he's $9,200. It seems pretty cheap for him. Of course, the iron game is elite. He does well on easy courses. Pretty easy click with that price tag, no doubt for me. So Morikawa is going to be my second cash game cornerstone. I like JT.
Kenny, what is Colin's deal at this golf course? I think he would have at least had cracked a top 10 at this venue.
He's improved every year that he's played.
Yeah,
that's all. That's what I look for. Okay. Right. I think what did he finish last year? I think he finished 17th or something.
I'm putting 42nd, but
he had a 13th place finish a couple of years ago. I'm sorry, I was thinking about somebody else. He's had a top 15 finish here. That's fine. Okay. I look less and less at course history, even on sticky course history courses this year. I used to be course history was almost half of what I looked at back in the day. I have totally flipped that. And it's basically one of the last things I look at now. It is not that important to me unless you have a track record like Siwoo does here. Right? Siwoo's playing well, but he's never played well here. In 8, 9, 10 attempts or whatever. I don't know how many times he's played, but he's never, ever even sniffed anything good here. But when it comes to Morikawa, we've at least seen a top 15, right? We've at least seen a top 15 here. So we know that he can get into the top of the leaderboard at some point in time at this course. So for me, course history does not mean as much as it used to. I don't know if that is coinciding with my better DFS play. I don't know. Could be pure, but it's something that I've been thinking about when it comes down to it, and I've made it so course history is not as important to me in DFS as it used to be.
Yeah, I think, you can apply it on a case-by-case basis as well. Like you mentioned, there are certain guys like Brian Harmon's course history is it's so difficult to kind of ignore, because it's so elite when it comes to him. And then when it comes to Colin, the reason I ask is because he course fits very well, but he doesn't, course history very well. So I like the idea of projecting him for good success based off of looking at his past results. And, I think he could be low owned. The fact of the matter is that he didn't play the greatest. He finished 17th at the US Open, but he had a chance to win the damn thing at one point during the weekend. He was right up there and struggled a little bit. So I think he's absolutely live. I love the golf course fit for him as well. For me, I'll be going to Russell Henley as well at $9,000 flat. I don't know if you were continuing to talk about your guys. I'm just going to talk about Henley and then you can go there. The fact of the matter is he's got a third and a first. He pops pretty hard. He can be a complete slate breaker for you at $9,000. He could be your second or third option, depending how you want to build lineups. He's very, very affordable. He's got incredible upside, and he finishes inside the top 20, 65% of the time, which is, supposed to be, if you're looking at that kind of consistency, it's right up there with the Fitzes and the Ludwigs and the Cameron Youngs and the Xanders and Tommies. But yet we're getting this massive gap with Wyndham Clark, Sam Burns, Colin, JT, all playing some better golf now. But still, I don't see him as a inferior option compared to those other names. So I'll take some value on Russell Henley there.
Well, I do like Justin Thomas. Again, he's been playing better since the injury. here's the thing when it comes to course history. If the guy like a Harmon or something like that, and the course history is elite, then it's pretty easy to look at, right? And of course, JT is. I more look at poor. I more not look at poor course history. I will put current form and course fit above poor course history, as long as there's been some little shining light that they've had. They can't just have been garbage for 8 straight years in a row, right? Basically. But JT is on the other spectrum of that. He's played this course well. I think 3 straight top 10s. He comes in, his iron play. It hasn't been the greatest. But again, if he's popular, I can jump off of him pretty easily and move to Henley, like you, or Burns, actually, as well. Mm-hmm. One of those 2 guys. We'll see how the ownership plays out when it comes to it.
I think it's going to be fascinating to chat about somebody else in this range here shortly, but I think Ludwig is interesting to me, Kenny, at $9,800 as well. He hasn't had a finish better than 24th at this golf course in his 3 appearances. Ranks 4th in the model, obviously just rattling off nonstop top 20s at Charles Schwab's, US Opens, 4th at the RBC Heritage, 4th at the PGA Championship, 8th at the Truist. I mean, this guy was almost winning the Players the other day. So he's been in the mix. Just to see this kind of a situation for his course history is kind of interesting. He could be one of the lower owned options given the fact that we've got Cameron Young, who basically shot a 59 at this golf course in the past, Wyndham Clark on a complete heater, and Justin Thomas right at the bottom here too, garnering some ownership. So we'll see how that works out for Ludwig this week. I kind of fancy him.
If Oberg's a leverage play, then he's definitely on my radar. We'll see what his ownership is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to be super low, but I don't think it's going to be the most owned option in the field.
Sub 15% would be pretty low, I would expect.
Yeah, so Monday night, we have 0 idea where that's going to go, but you never know. I think there are other options to be found that are more appealing to some people. Maybe not. We'll see. Some people like appealing. Some people don't. I think Patrick Cantley, as I mentioned earlier, Maniac overrode his metrics to get him from 4th in the model because I got 15% course history, and he's got, the 3rd best course history behind Harmon, JT, and then himself. Now, what we have noticed is Patrick Cantley hasn't translated this course history that everyone gloms onto, these Pete Dye tracks that Patrick Cantley loves so much. He's typically played well at Harbour Town. He should have definitely finished top 5 at RBC Heritage when he played there. Just Memorial, I guess he's played well there as well. Finished 17th, missed the cut at the US Open. He's not playing the greatest golf right now. And I think you can be caught into a course history trap with Patrick Cantley, given the fact that he's got nothing worse than a 13th place finisher in the last 5 years. But again, we're seeing this course history. RBC Heritage, if you're looking at that course history leading into the RBC Heritage, it was just nonstop top 5s for Patrick Cantley. So, we're not seeing that elite upside in the last 12 months. Patrick Cantley's got finishing inside the top 5% of the time. Mike, if you show the screen here one more time, sorry. You can kind of see how lacking upside he is versus his peers in this price range. 5% top 5 rate is Maverick McNeely, JT range. We want Russell Henley's and Siwoo Kim's finishing inside the top 5 a little bit more than we can expect. But Kenny, anyone you are really fancying in this $8,000 range?
I like the guys in the bottom. My first one's going. Mike, go ahead and hit the music. My hustler play of the week is going to be Kurt Kitayama at $8,300. I like the way Kitayama's looked the last month or so, minus last week. He's gained strokes with his irons in 5 of his last 6. And if you remove the U.S. Open, he has 5 straight top 25s, including a 5th at the PGA, a 9th at the Truist, an 8th at the Heritage, a major, a long course, and a short course. Right? That to me, that shows his game is hitting on all cylinders. In his career, he's gaining 1.5 strokes per round on the field in very easy scoring conditions. His best putting surfaces are bent and POA. I'm also betting him. He's on the card 40-1 with 8 places. So Kurt Kitayama is my hustler play of the week. My third cash game cornerstone.
Just want to chat about Kurt Kitayama with you there, Kenny. Love the call. He's one of these unique guys who he's typically been known as a long iron savant, but he's 52nd in a 72-man field in strokes gained from 200 plus, but he's 4th from 150 to 200 and 19th from 100 to 150 in strokes gained. So those proximity buckets for Kurt Kitayama this week are pretty elite, given the fact that we're going to only see like a couple shots from 200 plus, 12 or more inside of 200 for days, So I love this Kurt Kitayama profile for you. Hustler play grades out fantastic as well. 13th in the model, I believe, as well. So thought I'd just double down on there so I don't have to mention 14th in the model when I go through him at the $8,300 range.
Third cash game cornerstone is going to be Ben Griffin. I know when you look at his numbers, his iron game doesn't look great, but he's gained strokes with his irons in the last 3 tournaments he's played. He's become sort of like a short course savant with solid, finishes at Colonial and stuff like that. He's very good on easy scoring conditions, gaining very easy scoring conditions, averaging 1.7 strokes gained total per round on the field in those type of scoring conditions. So I do like Ben Griffin. He is going to be my third cash game cornerstone, maybe a little bit riskier than usual, but I've lost a couple of weeks in a row, switching it up a little bit, maybe taking a little bit more risk in a non-cut event. So I do, and I like Aaron Rai, just like you. I know you talked about him with his accuracy, his penchant for hitting good iron shots from 100 to 200 yards. I like Aaron Rai at $8,000.
Let's go. There's Russ, looking so good. Just such a nobody, doing his thing. Number 1 tour scrambler on the PGA Tour went for like 3 of 14 scrambling on Saturday. Shout out Russell Henley. Doing his thing, Oakmont, Shinnecock destroyed them. All right, so in the $8,000 range, Harris English checking 2 boxes for me. Makes a lot of sense. Fantastic on bend, fantastic putter. Past track record, yeah, good. 4th place at RBC Heritage, similar kind of a venue. This miscut at the US Open, not a problem at all, was on the number. Missed the cut by 1. There go my miscut, Harris English. Futures, tough Shinnecock for your boy. But still been playing fantastic. 4th, 24th, 18th, 17th. He's an $8,000 option in a signature event. Field ranks 12th for me. Love what's going on here with H. We like the Harbortown stuff. We like Harbortown. Harris doing his thing. This week's Statfish of the Week, shout out Wyndham Clark, last week's Statfish of the Week. But at least we did notify you guys, we understood the upside was there. I noted that was the case. We knew he was going to be popular. We were giving you the reason why we were fading him. Did it work out? No. Now, if I was fading the right guy correctly every single time, I don't think I'm sitting with sunglasses on this couch giving a podcast to you guys. I'm sitting in the Bahamas smoking illegal stuff that's legal and drinking things that are tastier than you could ever imagine because I'm making millions of dollars figuring this stuff out. It happens. It's golf. Variance exists. It is what it is. This week, we're going with somebody that's $8,600. He's kind of overpriced, in my opinion, versus where the models got him. I typically like him at golf courses that require a bit more scrambling, a bit more dominance off the tee, a bit more long iron intensive venues. The lack of accuracy off the tee at these kind of golf courses really hurts him. He's only checking 1 box for me this week. He's 35th in the model. $8,600 Chris Gotterup. Got off to a pretty good start. He was my winner at the Sony Open. We got on him live there. PGA Championship truest, a bit more bigger, longer, more difficult venues. When it comes to easy scoring conditions, Chris Gotterup is only averaging 0.1 strokes on the field. Then once it gets a little medium, hardish, and hellish, things get a little easier for him to score when the conditions get more difficult. So struggles around the green. We noted, Kenny, you mentioned it's pretty important to get up and down around this golf course, although they're going well under par. When you miss, it is difficult to scramble here. So his scrambling could be identified in some capacity this week as a stat fish. If we take a look at what he got up to last week at the US Open, where a lot of people had him highly rated, finished 43rd, in some seriously windy conditions. I think this week we saw earlier, the conditions are going to be pretty tranquil. Thursday, we're not getting more than 6 miles per hour sustained winds. Friday is going to be a little rainy, windy. Saturday is going to be a wet golf course with 0 wind. Course records are on the lookout for Saturday. So the fact that we're going to have Chris Goddard up over here doing his thing in easy scoring conditions, not so much. Statfish of the week. Don't get caught out by his price tag this week. We are yanking him out of the fish for you, so you don't have to play him. I will play him in the Statfish column this week. Get Chris Goddard up out of your lineups. He's 35th in the model, $8,600. Big discrepancy there. Aaron Rai, we like. Keegan Bradley, I like. Kurt Kitayama, I like a lot. So we'll see what happens with those guys. You never know. It's variance. Golf happens. Justin Rose, Kenny, shout out my boy. This is now a run of major finishes that this man is just, he lives for the moment in these majors. That's an 11th place finish. I had a top 10 on him last week. Womp, womp. That's just kind of how golf goes. He finished 11th there, 12th at the Memorial, 10th at the PGA Championship, and 3rd at the Masters. So big boy tournaments, Justin Rose dialing it in. Fantastic with the wedges. Very, very good out of the rough. Inside of 150. So Justin Rose is somebody I'm definitely looking at. Right off a solid major performance, he could easily just suck it up again and skunk us. But we'll see what happens. What are you doing here in the sevens, Kenneth Kim?
My final cash game cornerstone is going to be JJ Spawn at $7,900. And you take away last week, he's been playing some exceptional golf. His iron game is always really, really solid. He's going to hit a ton of fairways. This seems like a course that should fit him. So I'm going to go ahead and go with JJ Spawn as my 4th cash game cornerstone. So my cash game cornerstones for this week, they are going to be Matthew Fitzpatrick at 10,000 even, Colin Morikawa at 9,200, Ben Griffin at 8,200, and JJ Spawn at 7,900. Right now, I'm filling out the rest of my lineup with Adam Scott and Christopher Wrighton. Adam Scott, I don't understand why he doesn't play easier courses more often. Like, he gains like 1.5 strokes per round on easy course, and he never, ever plays easy courses. I think the one easy course he played this year was the Amex, and he finished 25th, but his ball striking was very, very good that week. So I'm going to go ahead and go Adam Scott in that cash lineup, and I like Wrighton, Rattan. I don't know how you pronounce his last name. I don't really care, but I do like him. Again, he comes in 5th in my model. I'm going to bet him. The ball striking has been elite. His green regulation percentage 4th in the field in the last 24 rounds. So I do like him a lot. I think I like Alex Fitzpatrick. I mean, the run is not ending. I figured it would be over by now, but he's just continuing to play exceptional golf week in and week out, and we're getting him at like $75, $76, $7,800. So I'll go ahead and play Alex Fitzpatrick. Thiegelis showed Sahith. Sahith showed a little bit of life last week. I think he's had a runner-up finish here in the past, so I'll take a peek at him as well. Who do you like in the 7K range?
Yeah. The fact that Alex Fitzpatrick is such an accurate driver of the golf ball really is encouraging to me. 29th in the model, $7,700. 4th, 75th at the PGA Championship, 6th, 20th, 23rd. The buddy is just playing good golf, and they're pricing him at the points where he's like your 4th, 3rd click, and those results are paying off for you. So until things change, Alex Fitzpatrick makes a lot of sense. Debut at most of these courses that you're seeing green boxes at, like this range. I'll just kind of scoot it so he's in the middle. Notice that the color coding here, there's a lot of volatility, a lot of miscuts, a lot of red boxes around Alex Fitzpatrick. He's got that PGA Championship. It's the only time that he's really struggled. Now this is his 4th in a row. We'll see how that works for him. He's young. He's hungry. We'll see what happens. I think he's good to go. Like you said, Adam Scott, 1.7 strokes gain for me in the easy conditions. It's delightfully to see there. I think Gary Woodland this week is very interesting as well, Kenny. I faded him last week at the US Open because I thought they'd miss more greens. They hit about 60% of their greens last week. So Gary kind of thrived. 7th place finish last week. Putted well, drove the ball well. Another good finish in a major can really give you the confidence to continue. Charles Schwab, isn't a terrible comp course for this week. Not the same kind of venue, but short, scoreable golf course. Gary Woodland finished 6th there last week, so that's good to see. And then JT Poston at $7,500, playing some good golf now. 1st and 4th in his last 2 starts is JT Poston doing his thing. So I think he's absolutely available for you at this price tag as well. If you want to be early on Jake Knapp, go ahead. $7,300. We don't know what he's doing. He missed his cut at the US Open. That is the last place you want to make your first start is at Shinnecock Hills. So you played 2 rounds, got out of there. Long-term wise, obviously makes a lot of sense. We'll see what he does coming back from his injury. Bud Carley at $7,000 flat makes too much sense as well. RBC Canadian Open champion going there. $7,000 range in the rearview mirror. Kenny Kim, $6,000. Alex Noren, Eric Cole for me, with some Alex Smalley are some 3 names that make way too much sense at the top of the 6K range. What's making sense for you?
Yeah, Eric Cole, first to birdie or better percentage in the last 24 rounds in this field. Iron game is solid. He's been playing good golf. I'll go ahead and roster him. I think I might jump on Sepp at $6,800. I know he's playing like ass, but it just seems like such a cheap number. I know he's not playing well. It's just a feeling. I don't have anything to back it up, right?
Cadillac was what, 2 months ago?
I just have a feeling about Sepp this week. So I'm going to play Sepp Straka. I'm going to rely on the gut here, and I'm going to play Giuseppe this week. Sung Jae showing a little bit of life. I saw him play a lot at the U.S. Open. He was on a bunch of featured groups. And from what I saw visually, it seemed like he's not too far away. Like his iron game needs to improve, but if he can spike 1 week with his irons, he could be in contention because everything else looks pretty decent for him. So I will take if I'm going to play Scotty, I got to go some of these low guys. He's going to be one guy down 6,500 or below that I'll play. Jackson Suber, talked about him in the betting segment. He's going to be another guy down here in this low 6K range. Maybe a little Tom Hoagie down here in this low 6K range because I'm going to have to play some if I'm going to play Scotty this week.
This low 6K range has got some hella course history if you're looking at this screen right now, friends. Tom Hoagie's got a 3rd in 2024. Denny McCarthy's got a 7th in 2023. Mark Hubbard's got a 13th here in 2021. Lucas Glover has got a 9th at 2025. And Keith Mitchell, whatever his price will be, has a 6th year in 2022. I don't know if Keith has a price yet for you, Kenny. I haven't updated yet since he was added to the field a couple hours ago. So DK does not have that for me. $6,400 Mac Masner is losing a bit of traction at the Memorial and the RBC Canadian, but 3rd at the Charles Schwab, had some really solid finishes prior to that. One flight, he finished 9th. Maybe the tournament is too big for him. Seems like a bit of a non-signature event guru with his better finishes. But again, the more you play in these signature events, the more comfortable you become in them. So hopefully Mac Masner can do that for us. Ryan Fox is starting to do what Ryan Fox was starting to do before having kidney stones at the Players. So now he's $6,600 again, 27th, 8th, and 23rd in his last 3 starts. We can add a 35th at the PGA Championship to that run as well. So 4 consecutive top 40s there, looking good for the Fox man. And I would not be shocked to see him do some work at this golf course. Nothing too crazy. He's just good across the board in that department. One of the few guys that fits with Marco Neiman. I think they've played 27 majors and don't have a top 5. Both of them, Ryan Fox and Marco Neiman.
Neiman probably should have. Here's the thing about what happened with Neiman this past week. I would be pissed if I was the first person called on the rule, right?
Fair.
I think it was probably warranted. I mean, you had a video where you threw a club 50 yards in the air, and you're like 6'3", 250, and you had to give all your energy to be able to throw something that far. I mean, even threw the club 50 yards. He said he knew no one was there, but how is he going to know, right? It's definitely risky. And the thing is, I think the USGA was smart giving him that penalty because now when other people do stupid shit, and they don't get penalized, they could be like, well, he didn't throw the club 50 yards.
Yeah.
Because no one ever throws the club 50 fucking yards.
Dude.
Right? No one does that. So the USGA sort of like was smart about that shit. They were like, well, we're not going to call this shit on like people we like, or like, people who are going to be in contention, big name guys who do this. So we can call this on Niemann because no one else is going to do that shit.
No
one throws their club 50 yards in the air.
My tendons, my entire forearm is tense, and it's still hurting from just 2 club tosses. You know how much effort you have to be raging to throw it that hard, and it went with some vigor.
Now, I get Niemann being pissed. I thought he handled it very well. He was like, it is what it is. He doesn't necessarily agree with it. That's fine, because no one has ever been called for that ever in the history of golf. So yes, like that would bug me if I was the first person, because this is the rule change happened this year, right? We've seen Rory throw clubs in the middle of Doral. We've seen crazy shit happen before, but there wasn't a rule for that, right? Now there is a rule with the 4 majors. They made a rule this year where code of conduct is going to be more strenuous, more, they're going to look into it more.
Yeah.
And he was the first person called on it, and that would suck because there's nothing to glean it on, right? Because people have done crazy shit in the past and never been called on. So I get Niemann, and I thought it was really impressive, him coming back and doing what he did. He could have just been like, fuck this shit, I'm out, right? And he grinded his ass out and was the best golfer on the course the last 2 days, right? So kudos to him. Open Championship, I might be in for the first time on Niemann at a major. With his low ball flight, cutting the wind. He showed me something this week. So we'll see how that goes.
The thing with Niemann, Kenny, is he's had now, I think, 13 rounds where he's gained 4+ strokes in majors. Big time. Only one of those instances did he not have a following round or a preceding round that had negative strokes gained. His biggest issue is just figuring it out for 4 straight rounds. He just went OB, fire ants, throw your club. That's his biggest issue, is like literally that is the problem with Waco Niemann. It's not his game. It's the pip, it should, So I'm not trying to be early on him, but he is starting to put some pieces together. He has until, I think I said he's 27 majors. Alex Noren is sitting at 47 without a top 5 in majors. So I think he's
that's apples and oranges.
It's apples and oranges, but I do want to point out.
Here's the thing about Niemann, though. There's a 7-week break in live. I think he's playing the Irish Open this week
and the Italia Open. I think
he's playing. I think he's playing a couple of DP World Tour events.
Yeah.
So he's going out there doing his thing. I'm definitely keeping an eye on his number for the Open Championship.
Yeah, Mike. Here's the guys. Ryan Fox and Waco Niemann at 28. Griot and Corey Connors with 30 and 31 majors. Daniel Berger, 33 without a top 5. Siwoo Kim, 37 majors without a top 5. And Alex Noren, 43 without a top 5 there. So interesting to note in that department. I do like Eric Cole, Alex Smalley, Corey Connors, those kind of names. Nico Echeverria is someone that I will be glomming on to the fact that he is ridiculously good in easy scoring conditions. The moment it gets easy for him, he's one of the better. Obviously, won the Cognizant, when things went banana land easy there. He's slightly above average when it comes to accuracy, lacking distance, can make some putts. He's $6,100, not afraid to contend when he gets in the mix. We'll see what he can do there. All right, Kenny. One and done's last week. I blew my load on Jon Rahm, and that was a pile of dust. Nothing to come from that.
I went Rory, just as bad.
Dude, and both of those, you could not even, shame us for thinking we were looking good at some point during the round. Jon Rahm was 5 holes into his second round, sitting 2 under par. Man, if he can just fucking T2 this thing, I don't care if he even wins. No. 8 over the next couple holes, misses the cut by 2. Bye-bye. Johnny, bye-bye, Johnny. Bravo. So we'll see what he does. This week, I haven't thought about it. You go ahead. Maybe I can make a quick snap call you on my.
I'm looking at guy up top. I mean, maybe I'm having a hard time too this week because I don't even know who I have left. But like Wyndham Clark. I'm Morikawa. Someone I'll look at. JT. Someone I'll look at. Maybe Keegan, Kitayama, Griffin, Rai as an international, Sung Jae as an international. It's going to be some people in that group.
Yeah, because I'm starting to get to some dire situations as well. I've used pretty much everybody at the top here. So we're starting to get ourselves into some problems. I think I could be doing like a Colin Morikawa situation. You never know. I think very low under the radar could give you some massive upside if he spikes. If not, so be it. We'll see what happens this week. After Shinnecock, I'm totally cool just accepting punishment now. Just my guys can just suck and it's just normal to me. So it is what it is. But that is it for this week's Travelers Championship episode. Follow me on X at the Model Maniac. Use code in the description below for a little promo there in the Model Maniac Patreon. All the tools that you saw here, all the bets as I place them, showdown stuff, research articles, research channels, my input. If you want it, you can ask me questions in there. I'm available. It's a happy community. Please join the Model Maniac Patreon/Discord. Use code FGD when signing up at DraftKings as well as a first-time depositor. The show is presented by DraftKings. We appreciate them. You show your appreciation to us by using code FGD on your first deposit over there. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. Get us the hell out of here, Kenny Kim.
You can find me on X at KendoVT. I'll have my final betting card there. Any cool tidbits of information for the week, any live bets to go on through the event. So make sure you follow me on X at KendoVT. It's the last Siggy of the year. Maybe the last time we see some type of Siggy event like this for the foreseeable future. We'll see how it goes. Should be a fun week. Let's win some motherfucking money. Regen Nation.